Welcome to Papillion Unscripted. I'm Michael Severe, the place to go to hear from people who truly help make Papillion feel like home. Today, we're joined by the Executive Director of Grow Sarpy, Andrew Rainbolt. We appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Now, Grow Sarpy is a great name, but I know it scares some people because this is kind of a secret. Sarpy County Papillion. People get upset at all. You're growing it.
Yeah, well, funny thing with the name is up until just last year, we were the Sarpy County Economic Development Corporation.
That's a handful.
And that was too much for me to say, so I had to shorten it down to make it easier. So, it is, as someone who's grown up here, it's amazing how much it's grown over the last 40, 20, 10 years, whatever it would take your increment there. It just grows at a steady pace. And yeah, we are kind of reaching that point where we're no longer just a little bedroom community. We're a big city that attracts people from all over the place.
So born and raised in Sarpy County?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I lived in La Vista and Papillion, or grew up in La Vista and Papillion, and went to high school in Bellevue. So I've hit 3 of the 5 cities.
Nice.
So that's kind of how I cover my bases there.
Yeah. How much does that help you kind of, one, understanding the feel of the people who are here, but also just the locations around?
Yeah, it's actually, I think, a great asset because I think context is big for me, so it helps me understand how and why things have grown in the way that they have, and how things used to be. And I think that really helps when, one of the things we always try to do is we try to get prospects to come and put boots on the ground and lay their eyes on the building or the site that we're trying to convince them is a good location for their facility. And knowing all the background and being able to answer their questions specific to Papillion or Sarpy County it makes me feel like I know what I'm talking about, and I think gives them some faith that we can execute on what we tell them we're going to do.
If there was one mission statement for Grow Sarpy, what would it be?
Oh, we have one. No, it is. So our mission is to grow and attract primary employers, so that would be service and industry that are selling their goods and services outside of the metro area, hopefully outside of the state of Nebraska. So we're bringing that new money into the state and into our communities through investment and payroll. And so that's really our corner of economic development, which can be a lot of things to a lot of people. We're really looking for those primary employers who are bringing new jobs that are bringing money in from outside of our community.
Well, what makes a place like Papillion or Sarpy County attractive to those places?
I think our overall location in the region is what really attracts people. They start looking at Omaha as a region and say, hey, I need a facility that's going to serve the Midwest, or a stopping off point to get further west. Typically, is what we see, and thanks in large part to Omaha being pretty built out, they generally kind of follow the interstate out this way. And so I think right now is kind of our time as far as being able to meet the needs of those prospects, and also being able to sell them on a great lifestyle that we've got here.
Another part, seems to me, is that we have a fairly educated population, so it makes it attractive to employers to know what they're hiring. Many have a college degree, or at least have an associate's degree. Yes,
we've got a higher percentage of our population in general has a college degree than most places around the country, or the national average. And so that's always a big sticking point. I mean, not a big sticking point, I guess, a big point that
selling point,
yeah. And so, especially as we've seen jobs kind of change. When I started at the Omaha Chamber almost 15 years ago, and we were really trying to get people kind of into entry-level positions, because we had a lot of kind of entry-level jobs. And what I've seen in the industry is the prospects that are coming to us, and especially the ones that we're going after, are higher level jobs now. And so we've really put a lot of effort across the metro into upskilling people who are at that entry level to get them up to the next level so they can make more money. And those are really the kinds of jobs we want anyway. When we've got such a low unemployment rate,
I was going to ask you that.
We don't really need to attract any more minimum wage jobs. So we need to attract the higher paying jobs, and that's really what our focus has been on the last, 5, 6 years.
Can that make it difficult a little bit, because we are to the point where you don't have a lot of people who are unemployed? I guess you would have some people who are moving up, right? Getting a degree and then moving to the next level.
Yeah. We've had to make some investments in software and in programs so we can kind of make that sell to people, so that they look at our unemployment rate and they say, well, I'm not going to find people there.
Right.
And there's a couple of different things that we do. One, we try to point them or be able to I guess color in the direction of people in school and say, all right, well, we've got X number of people that are in community college and X number of people that are in this degree, and that's your pipeline, and we can grow that pipeline if we have more employment. And then the other thing we try to do is the reality of it is they're not going to hire someone who's just sitting around waiting for a job. They're going to hire away from somebody else. And so typically we try to sell to, I guess, employers that are at the top of their market or willing to be that employer of choice. And so it's not great if you're an employer that's already
good for
here.
employees, though.
Yes, it's great for employees. It's a very good time to be an employee. But yeah, so you know, it's the interesting part of it is, you know, we're supported by local employers who want to grow our area so they can have more customers. But whenever we are attracting another employer in, that's, you know, competition for labor. So.
What's missing? Have you heard a clamoring at all for certain restaurants, or are there certain types of businesses? Is there something out there that Papillion, Sarpy County needs?
You know, I think it's a really complicated subject in general, but I think some transit is really what we need. And I've been focused lately. I've really gotten interested in the trail systems and how we can use those as attractors to development. We've got a great trail system, especially at Papillion, but a lot of them are recreational and don't necessarily go anywhere, or they're not fully connected yet. I know, and that's a long process to get there. But can we use that to help move people around rather than just recreationally? I know that's kind of hard to do in an area that has cold weather, but it's a lot cheaper than a bus system or anything like that. But we'll get there eventually as we get more density.
I mean, even the 370 where it goes under,
yes.
If somebody's living in a neighborhood and they need to go to the other side, that's really convenient.
Yes, and my parents live by one of those underpasses off of 370, and it's great. And right now it gets over to Walnut Creek Lake there. But you know, we need to have more of those so we can keep our community connected, because what we're seeing is we've got the Highway 50 and 80 corridors where a lot of employment's going, and so you're seeing a lot of growth out in Gretna, and it'll come to Springfield too. But we need to be able to get employees out there, and one of the complaints that we have from some employers is that their folks have to drive by a lot of other jobs to get to their job. And so the longer commute and the fact that, you know, not all those jobs are paying a wage that someone can buy a $400,000 house or something like that, or some people have one car. We need to have more options for people to get around and get to not just employment, but other amenities as well.
And affordable housing obviously is a big part of it. Talk to me about the Tower District project and what that means to the people of Sarpy County, Papillion, in terms of overall growth and the way that's going to be grown out.
Yeah, I think it's a great project. I think it's really symbolic of the type of development that we really kind of need, where we've got a mix of uses and a mix of affordability in one location. So, you know, we've always relied on developers that just come and build neighborhoods, and that's great. It's a system that allows us to grow at a pretty steady pace and doesn't put a lot of responsibility on the community or on public finances. But it leaves a city with, doesn't have a lot of tools to say this is what you have to build. And so I think builders build to the market. And we're seeing a trend now, I think, where they're realizing there is a market for more affordable and different housing types.
Like almost a starter home.
Yes.
Or a single one kid home.
Right, And as I've talked to developers and the engineers that lay out the neighborhoods and things like that. It's just, if they could make money building those, they would build them. So I think this is an attempt to try to get to that, where you can mix in commercial, residential, and some office, and be able to spread that out in one project. Might give you the ability to build some of those starter homes or single home with a office in it or something like that. So,
some people who lived here or moved here because there was a small town kind of feel, right? Is there a thought at all about, obviously you're trying to grow, but at the same time trying to keep that feel that people like?
You know, I wonder about that a lot, especially as Papillion and the rest of Sarpy grows, especially to the west and southwest. You've got Springfield down in southwest Sarpy County that will grow, and that's still got that small town feel. feel, and Gretna's kind of blown up out to the west. But
oh yeah,
that area kind of in between Papillion, Springfield, and Gretna, what is that? How are we going to make that have a community feel to it? Because you might be living in Papillion, city limits, but you're not really. You're probably maybe closer to Springfield downtown or Gretna, and so I think that's something that we need to look at. One of the things that we're doing is I've hired a consultant to help us come up with a vision for kind of that area along the I-80 corridor, mostly south of I-80 as you head west. And a lot of that is in Papillion's territory, and so how are we? What is that? What does the market want it to be? What do we want it to be? And what kind of steps do we need to take to make that, to execute our vision? And so we're not trying to take over anybody's planning jurisdiction. It's just kind of some ideas that we want to contribute and see if we can get people on the same page. Because at the same time, there's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be built out there. And so can Papillion and Springfield and Gretna and the county get on the same page and go to the state and say, hey, here's some plans, help us execute that, because it's going to be expensive to build out.
It's great that the cooperation is happening, though. I know there was a time where those cities didn't necessarily get along. Now we have the water project or the sewage project, and it really has made cooperation.
It's come a long way. Yeah, it was. We had some touch and go moments there back when Facebook first came along. But those projects really they kind of brought to light some of the issues that, especially on jurisdiction, and we were able to figure that out and still land the project. And now everyone's, I think, is moving forward with a pretty good consensus and vision for what it is, what at least who's got what.
Right, exactly.
That's very helpful.
How did you end up with Chamber, and how did you end up in this position?
Yeah, so I actually went to school to be a social studies teacher, and I figured out pretty quickly I didn't want to do that. I had my student teaching was down at Papillion Junior High. And I figured if I couldn't handle kids there, then I probably couldn't handle kids anywhere.
Right.
and so anyway, no, that wasn't. But I stayed in school. I got my master's degree in urban studies, and I was kind of interested in urban geography there. And I got on with the Nebraska Investment Finance Authority. So they are the state authority that helps finance affordable housing. And I got to travel all over the state trying to get communities to build low-income housing, and then kind of ended up had an opportunity to come back to Omaha. I was down in Lincoln at that time, and came back to the Omaha Chamber and started doing workforce development. So I kind of worked in housing until the housing market collapsed, and then I got to do workforce development until the labor market collapsed.
Right.
And they said, well, why don't you go try to be a sales guy? So I worked for the Omaha Chamber trying to land projects all over Omaha, and then Toby Churchill, my predecessor here, let me come in and help him for a little bit. And then I eventually got to take over there. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So hobbies, anything like that?
Yeah, I've got 3 young kids.
Yeah, that's
so
a hobby in itself.
Yeah, that's what we
full-time hobby.
Yeah, we've got. When people always come here, like, oh, what do people do here? And I was like, well, I do youth sports mostly right now.
I understand.
So we got a lot of that, but no, Husker football in the fall, and my daughter's into swimming, so that takes up a lot of time. We're finding out.
Yeah. Are you doing the timing at all? Are you volunteering? Because that is a heck of a job.
Yeah, I had to be the announcer at whatever meets.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
But no, I let my wife do that, so that's a little too much pressure.
It is a lot of pressure. I ask this question to everybody who's on because we try to highlight as many parts of Papillion and Sarpy County as we can. Yeah. Is there something that you think that needs to be highlighted, whether it's a recreational area or a business or something that maybe isn't getting the attention that it should, that you think it should in this area?
You know what? I think every community in Nebraska, we really need to focus on education and parks and rec. And then also site development, and so that way, I think that is a great recipe for any community to focus on to really make sure we're cranking out kids that are capable and talented. We've got
and give them a reason to stay here.
Exactly. We don't have mountains or oceans, so I think man-made parks and rec is obviously where we got to go, and then site development. So when a business wants to come here, they have a place that's ready to go for them. But I think for the most part, we're doing a really good job at that. In fact, on the site development side, we probably did too well. We opened up a couple thousand acres out on the Highway 50 corridor there, and it's all gone already. So we'll catch up with that with the sewer project. But I know Papillion came out with the parks plan last year that I thought was really cool. I think that you guys are really, I think, on the ball there, focusing on what needs to make our communities really attractive to people to, because I think attracting people is really hard, but keeping people or getting them to come back after they've left is a lot easier. And when people come back and they see a well cared for, loved community, they want to be part of that.
How do people find out more about Grow Sarpy if they want to get some information?
Yeah, we've got a website, growsarpy.com. We're under the Omaha Chamber, so we are a partner organization of them. My office is down there in downtown Omaha at the Omaha Chamber. So you can look up either the omahachamber.org, I think it is, or sarpy.com, and or give me a call at 233-7155 is my phone. And people still, I don't actually have a phone, but it'll ring through my computer now, and so you can give me a call there. But happy to. People always have questions and want to know what's going on, so happy to chat.
Yeah, cool. Andrew, we appreciate it, man.
Sure.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming in.
Yeah.
Really do. Join us again next time when, again, we speak with someone who truly helps Papillion feel like home.